Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more waterfowl patterning. And today is going to be a pretty interesting little combination. It could do pretty good or it could do absolutely terrible as well. And kind of what we've seen from these shells has been a mixed bag, so I'm really curious to see what happens out of today's test. So for the shell I've got out here today, I brought out some of the Federal Premium Black Cloud steel loads. These are a 12 gauge, 3 inch, 1 1/4 ounce of steel 2s, moving about 1450, so the box says. And here's a quick look at what those shells actually look like. Nothing too fancy, but they are sealed at the crimp and at the primer pocket, which is definitely something that I like to see in a waterfowl load in case you drop it in the water. If it's sealed up, it definitely seems to help not get water in the shell. But as for the setup we've got to test it through today, it's definitely something a little bit interesting that might work or it might not really work with it. I don't know. But I've brought out my Remington 1187 again, but I decided to put this choke in the gun. Now this is the factory full choke, and I can already see it coming now in the comments that you shouldn't shoot steel shot through a full choke. It's too tight, it'll blow the pattern open, and so on. And there is some truth to that sometimes, but this factory full choke is rated to handle steel shot, so it is safe to do it. Now, whether or not it's going to be too tight, that remains to be seen. But we're going to try it today and see what happens. Now, typically, with steel shot, if you're using a modified choke, that's kind of like using a full choke with a lead equivalent. So using this full choke is kind of going to be like an extra full if we were shooting a lead equivalent shell here. So is it going to be too tight? Especially since those Black Cloud loads have the Federal Flight Control wad. I don't know. It's definitely going to be interesting because it could go either way on this one. But as for the test, we're going to keep everything the same as usual. I have the duck target set up at 40 yards. I also have the chronograph, so we'll be able to see our speed and how close it is to the box posted velocity. So let's get you guys a view of this duck target, and I'll head up and take the shot. We'll look at what kind of chrono number we had, and then we'll go down range and see how it actually performed. So let's go over here and get set up and take this shot and see what happens with these Black Cloud loads through a full choke this time. Could be good, could be bad. I really don't know, but let's go over here and test it. Alright, so that round gave us 1444 through the chrono. The box is claiming 1450, so we're pretty much right on the money with their claim, which is definitely good to see. 1450 is definitely enough to carry energy with steel shot downrange like that, so not really anything too out of the ordinary up here. But how did it actually perform through that full choke? Let's go downrange and see. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and this is what we got. Now, we do have a dead duck here. There is one through the top of the head up there, several across the wings there, and a couple more in the body. So he is a dead duck. But looking at the pattern here, I'm liking what I'm seeing. This is much, much more consistent than any of the previous patterns we've done with this shell. It seems like it might like a little bit tighter of a choke. Now, with that being said, there is a little bit of a caveat that I'm seeing here as well. We have a pretty, condensed core area right here. I mean, that's a lot of pellets right around that duck. What I could maybe see happening here is that this is a pretty good long range setup, 35, 40, 45 yards. But if you've got a bird that's coming in for a landing at, 15, 20, 25 yards, that's going to be a pretty tight pattern. So you're not going to have a whole lot of leeway at closer ranges. Now, for some people, that might be a really good looking setup for them. With how they hunt or the areas they hunt, they might take longer range shots pretty consistently. So this might really look pretty good for them. Other people might be hunting really close over decoys or something like that, and you might want a little bit more of an open spread than that. That just kind of comes down to where you hunt and how you hunt. But overall, it's absolutely an improvement over what we've seen previously through the modified chokes that we've tested it through. But either way, that's not too bad at all. I wouldn't be scared to use that at all. I would just make sure that your lead is pretty much on the money in at closer ranges. But overall here, definitely not too terrible on this one. Okay, and here's the wad out of that shell, and it is just one of these Federal Flight Control wads, so nothing really too special or nothing that we haven't seen before. And there's obviously, nothing stuck down in there All the tail pieces opened up pretty much like they were exactly supposed to, and there's really no rips or tears or anything like that. These little slots in the side are cut into the wad previously, but if anything, I would definitely say we can start to see, you know, a little bit of what might be some melted plastic or some smushed plastic being through that tight of a full choke, but still not even really close to having pellets poke through or anything like that. So not really anything too special to take note of on this one. All right, y'all. Well, what do you think about that performance there? Definitely, it looks way better than some of the previous tests we've done with it. So at least from this result here, it looks like these black cloud loads might like a little bit tighter of a choke. Or if you have, you know, waterfowl specific chokes, it might do a lot better through a long range choke than a close range or a mid range choke. So as always, leave your thoughts in the comments. And let me know, did that kind of surprise you, or is that about what you expected to see? And if you've tested these black cloud loads, what have you kind of seen as far as constrictions that it likes? Have you gotten similar results where you see a little bit better performance out of a tighter choke? Let me know all that down in the comments. But with that being said, I've got a bunch more testing coming y'all's way, so stay tuned. We do have the channel Instagram as well as a mailbox where you can send stuff to the channel. If you're interested in any of that information, it'll be in the description for you. But I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.